Well, welcome everybody. Today is week 2 of our 12-week program. Thanks for coming out, and we're gonna have a little. I don't know if it's fun, but it's good information, for us all to kind of take in and absorb. And so last week we just got rolling. We start talking about habits, and really how our habits, depending whether if we have good habits or bad habits. Our goal is in this 12-week program is to help people begin to replace their bad habits with good ones. Please, come on in. All right. So, anyways, the great thing about habits is, it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you have good habits, what's great is it's really easy to be healthy. It's really easy to make more good choices than bad choices when it comes to what we eat or what we do or how we behave. So, but the other side of that is if we have a bunch of bad habits, they're automatic. Habits are things that we do without really giving much thought or energy or putting, we don't have to put much into it. We just do it and it happens. So, that's kind of why it's so important for us to slowly over time, our whole goal here is not to get you to change all your bad habits right now. Our goal is to start with, let's just start with little baby steps, focus on maybe one little thing and just start improving a little bit at a time. And, we want everyone to be thinking long term as opposed to short term. And so really, that, be thinking about habits as we go through this whole 12-week program, because it's those habits that are going to make or break us. Understand that those habits are they've taken a lifetime for us to adopt many of them, and so it might take some time to really master them. So give yourself credit, give yourself a break every now and again. If you flub up, it's all right. As long as we continually work on it, keep moving forward. That's really what matters most. I heard something just this last weekend. I was watching a training on YouTube, and one of the things that we have a tendency to do, and this goes with whenever we try to better ourselves, we know things that we should or shouldn't do, and so we're like, oh, so dumb, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done that, I'm not going to do that again. And then what we do is, life kind of goes on, and we make that, all of a sudden we find ourselves making a bad choice again. And dang it, I screwed up again. And then what happens is when we make mistakes again and again, and we keep saying, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do better, there comes a point oftentimes where we're like, all right, I'm just not even going to try anymore. Okay, we get into into a mentality of all or nothing. Okay, if I can't have the athletic or model body, or if I can't have that, it's not worth even trying. It's too hard. It's all or nothing. Whereas if you think about it like a piano player, it's like taking piano lessons. Oh, I got to play at Carnegie Hall or in some amazing place, or nothing, or I'm quitting. That's not what it's about. There's a lot of beautiful music you could play in between there, and a lot of great things you could do. It's about continually just working and mastering yourself, mastering those habits, getting a little bit better day by day. So give yourself a little bit of leeway there. Just always think long term. Matter of fact, that's kind of what we're getting into today is really how we start making choices, and how our choices, how we start understanding how to structure our choices in a way where we advance forward as opposed to fall backwards. And so, this here, I like how Dr. Anderson puts this. It says, most of us have been raised to react to circumstances. Think about that. Most of our life, in school, they teach us problem solving. If you're in this scenario, what do you got to do to correct it? So we haven't been taught to believe that we can adopt fundamental self-generated resolve. But in fact, that is how we take charge of our lives. by realizing that no matter the circumstances, no matter the temptation, we can do what we know is right because we have taken a stand for the choice we hold most important. So again, understand, a lot of times we just kind of, well, crud, this happened to me. You know, I mean, let's say you get in a car accident, something bad happens. Actually, probably the best example, or one of the best examples I've ever seen, my kids like watching Gator Boys. You know, I mean, alligators are very foreign to us, so I have little kids, and they think that's pretty cool to watch guys jump and wrestle alligators and yank them out. But anyways, there was a few weeks back, they were watching one, and there was a vet from back over in Afghanistan who had, he had stepped on, he had hit one of the IEDs and literally had blown, both of his legs were gone. I mean, completely gone, and one of his arms, okay? So he had one good limb. And one of his, why that would be on his bucket list, but one of the things he wanted to do in life was wrestle an alligator. And so these guys were helping him see his dream, right? And looking at this, I'm watching this program. He's lost 3 limbs. He's got one left that, think of all it takes is one wrong move, and he's got no limbs to use. And that's what these guys are thinking. They're like, man, we want to help him live out his dream, but at the same token, man, if something goes wrong, this could be a really bad thing. And but you look, this guy who, again, this young kid in his early mid-20s, he's got no legs, only one arm left, and he has every reason in the world to say, well, my circumstances, these circumstances that have happened to me, he could be bitter. He could be, really be an upset, and with good reason. Many of his dreams, I'm sure, are gone, and there's lots of reason for him to be down and out with life. But this guy had the best attitude of anyone I've ever seen in my life. He would go around and he would talk to schools and encourage kids to set good goals and make their dreams and achieve their dreams. And so anyways, just understanding that we don't have to let our circumstances control who we are or where we're going. So that and we're going to talk a little bit about that fundamental choice and how important that is. Matter of fact, where'd you go, Sue? Sue just, there you are. She just pulled this out of a book that she was sharing. It has a lot of wonderful motivational things. And, it's easy to say no when there is a deeper yes burning inside. That's what a fundamental choice is. So we have, actually, I'll get back to that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about fundamental choices and really about the things that we really want to achieve. Again, not trying to react to circumstances, but what is it that we want? So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. So as we start talking about choices, really it comes down to, there's a few different motivational ways that we're motivated, okay? This here, conflict-driven motivation, is typically what we see with yo-yo dieting. When we try to create good habits, or we try and do something and we succeed for a little while, and then all of a sudden we fall off the mark. Okay, all of a sudden we're like, dang it, it's just not working like I wanted to, and we give up. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. And if you think about it, again, conflict is we're thinking in terms of how we can fix it. How can we fix our circumstances? Okay, we think about stuff that we're against. When it comes to dieting, it's I want to lose weight. I want to get rid of 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. We're trying to get rid of something. And really what it is, it's a negative thing. We're thinking about what we don't want rather than what we do want. And the way this works, essentially it's this. It's something in our life happens that says you got to take some action. And when it comes to getting healthy, sometimes it's blood pressure, sometimes it's diabetes. This here, you can't really read this. I love this one. It's this lion just about to pounce on this zebra. And it says down here, one day you're going to wish you had trained harder. You know what I mean? That you could run a little bit faster. So, if you look about, there's reasons, and it's not a bad thing to have something motivate you to change. But our goal is to help you orient yourself into a more positive, productive way of getting healthy as opposed to trying to get away from what you don't want. See, the problem is when we typically get what we focus on. Okay, if we focus on the negative, okay, if we focus on, I've got to lose this 50 pounds, I want to fit into this size, we're thinking about some of the negative things. What happens is, that negative stuff just kind of, it lingers in the back of our head. And the first day that's really stressful and tough, it's really easy to say, dang it, this isn't worth it. You know what I mean? And we have a tendency to kind of find those pounds we may have lost, or we find, again, the yo-yo diet. On the other side of this, on the second motivating factor is, we call it our desired outcome, or our outcome-oriented, way to think about what we're doing. And really, when in terms of losing weight, it's, I want to lose these 15 pounds. I want to, feel better, or whatever. This here is more of, man, I really want to create a healthy body. I want to feel good. I want to be able to run. I want to be able to get down on the ground and get up. I want to be able to do the things I did when I was younger, when I was a kid, with no restrictions. Okay, it's something that we want, not something that we don't want. And again, so it's just the same goal is to lose weight, but when we focus on the things we want, the byproduct, or the kind of just the effect is losing the weight. That just happens. But it's because we're focused on we're trying to be healthy. And to be healthy, it takes making good choices, picking the right foods, taking the time to exercise, doing things that sometimes aren't fun, but they're the things that are supporting us in our decision to be healthy. So again, when we think in terms of, thinking long term, thinking of the things we want to create, and then focusing on the journey, this, as we go through this, again, the byproduct is losing weight and feeling good. And so, and that's one of the great things about our body is, and when you look at yourself and take that snapshot, it's, think about where you're at. Okay, from today as opposed to 5 years ago. Are you healthier today than you were 5 years ago? If you are, that means you have a lot more, you've adopted some good, healthy habits. If you're not as healthy as you were 5 years ago, or even 5 months ago, means you have habits of disease that we want to try and change. We want to start getting you to find those healthier habits. And as you do that, your body will become healthy. Who all is on the program right now as we speak? So over half the room. Wonderful. Tell or raise your hand if you didn't feel a difference in your body within about a week to 2 weeks. Okay, there's no hand, for those of you on the computer, there's no hands that went up. You can tell a difference within days as far as your energy, how you feel, how you're sleeping, the scales moving. And really, that's kind of the beauty with how this program works is, or getting healthy, is when you do the right things, man, your body knows it immediately and you feel it. Okay, so that's really the great thing. So, be thinking about, why are you doing this? This understanding why and what you want absolutely makes all the difference in your success. In every way, it makes all the difference. And we'll talk about that here right now. We've talked about structural tension before, correct? How many new people are here for the first time? So we have 4, very good. We have a bunch of new people. That's fantastic. So as we look at this, again, our goal, it's all about how we set goals. Here is our yo-yo diet. Okay, when we're spurred into doing something, basically what happens is something traumatic, something, again, we get diagnosed with diabetes. I mean, how many people, anyone a fan of Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes to Jail, Ernest P. Worrell? Love that guy. I can remember and he was the voice of the little Slinky dog on Toy Story. I have kids, but he was, albeit dumb humor, very funny. I enjoyed watching him. But I remember when he got he smoked like a chimney, and what happened was the day he got diagnosed with lung cancer, he says, I stopped that day. The unfortunate part is the cancer still took him, took his life. He waited a little bit too long to make a difference. And there are things like that in our lives that make a difference, that motivate us to do something. Again, whatever the motivation is to get you to commit, wonderful. But we want to make sure we start helping you understand. If all you did was, I just want to lose a little bit of weight because my blood pressure's high, you start taking some action, your blood pressure goes down. Pretty soon people are saying, hey, you're looking better, you're looking good. You feel better, the doc says your blood pressure's better, so what happens? You're like, I'm done, I made it, I did it. And so what? You have less action, and because of less action, you come right back up to where you were. Whereas with what we're talking about here, we call this structural tension, and I'm going to kind of keep this simple, but the goal is really the things that we really want, that fundamental choice, that is what we want to focus on. Because in between there, and the reason this needs to be important is because there's going to be those hard days. There's going to be those stressful days. There's going to be parties. There's going to be things come up that make us want to not be on the program. And some of them may be really good reasons to do that. So, very justifiable reasons. Family comes in town, you haven't seen them forever, they want to go out to dinner, whatever it is. So just understanding that, but when you really do know what you want and you know what you're going after, it makes it a lot easier to say no. It makes it, like we said back, where'd it go? Right there. It's really easy to say no when there is a deeper yes burning inside. You have to understand, if the price isn't worth the price, it's, what's it, why put forth the effort? What you want has to be important to you. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk, we're going to kind of describe this whole process here, right here. So again, our fundamental choice is that thing that really means the most to us. It's the thing in our life that, and being healthy, to enjoy time with your family and your children. Being able to get up and down off the ground, being able to, there was, we've talked about him before, a gentleman that lost over 250 pounds on the program, and when he first started, he says, I want to be able to hold my grandkids in my lap. He was so large, he couldn't even hold his those are things that meant a lot to him. And so, those type of things are what we want our fundamental choice to be. And then the primary choices are kind of like our more short-term goals. Believe it or not, getting to a healthy weight is typically, that's going to be more of a primary choice. That's a short-term goal. Because when we get there, we don't want to say, okay, I made it, I'm done. It's when we get there, we want it to be, okay, what's next? What can I do with myself now? What can I do? What can be my next goal? Because again, everything we're trying to do is about trying to just build momentum, stretch ourselves and really live life to the fullest. So this is kind of our more short-term goals. This is who we are and what we stand for. The secondary choices right here, these are the things that we do every day. So again, when we talk about habits of, do I have habits of health or habits of disease in my life? Those are those secondary choices. Is it more important for me to go hang out with my buddies and tailgate and eat the crummy food, or do I want to lose weight and get healthy? Do I want to create a healthy body? What means most to us? So those secondary choices are the little things we do every day. And so when we get into learning how to create health in our life, we start looking at, okay, what are some of our bad habits? The reason we use Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health and the companion guide is because in there are little things we can actually write down. Here's some of the things I do when I aimlessly eat. Here's some of my triggers. Here's some of the things I know that I could improve on. And then you right next to it say, what could I do instead? What are just becoming recognizing what they are, becoming aware of it, and saying, what could I do instead of those things? Now all of a sudden we're taking a more active role. Rather than letting things go on autopilot, we're actually making a choice to do what it is we want to do. We make the choice to become who we want to be. And so that's really the great part about all this, is that choice. I was talking about Ernest, at some point, right now we have the choice to actually become healthy. If we just let ourselves go and just kind of just go down the path that we're on, at some point that choice gets made for us. When we become diabetic, when we become, hypertensive and our blood pressure's through the roof, when bad things happen, he got lung cancer. Right now we can make that choice before something bad happens. If we don't, at some point the choice will be made for us. What was the quote that by not making a choice, we're making a choice? I think we've all heard that. If we don't make the choice now, we've already made a choice. So isn't it better to make a choice to get something that you want as opposed to having something forced upon you? And typically it's going to be what you don't want. So just keep that in mind. I really liked Robert Fritz, and when he says the choice is what makes it special. Because when you do make the choice and you do start seeing those those little bitty successes. Every pound is a success. When that scale's going the right way and you're feeling better and you've ate all 5 of your meals, or you're on the program to get healthier, those are successes. And every day you stay to it, it's a success. Know that when you're doing that, you're building more strength, you're building a healthier body, and even when the scale doesn't move, I know it's frustrating when you're like, man, I have been perfect, and then a week goes by and you're like, crud, the scale didn't do anything. I know that's frustrating, but you know what? If you followed the program every day and that scale doesn't move, you're still a success. You are still moving towards health because you're making good choices. You're following, you're committing to yourself to move, to keep going forward. And all you got to do is stick with it. It's going to happen. Sometime, Dr. Arnold.
I was actually just thinking of a Facebook post that I saw from Dr. Anderson on choices, and he says most people focus on the past, which actually pulls them toward disease. That focus makes no sense because you can only change the future by modifying your choices in the present.
That's pretty awesome. I probably should put that in our presentation here. That makes all the sense. We think about the things that we failed at before. We think about all those, it's good to learn from the past, but when that's what we think about, that's probably, all that's doing is bringing us down. All we have to do is focus on what am I doing today to move myself towards a healthier spot in my life. That's all we have to focus on, and then again, obviously we're going to learn and grow as we do it, but the whole idea is, man, the more of these great habits that we get, the easier it becomes to be healthy.
I think that goes along with it is that I think we are always too hard on ourselves of looking at what we have not achieved versus what I try to do with a lot of my clients is say, look at how far you've come and look at all the great things. If you can daily write down 3 things that you have overcome and have had success on, it's an amazing thing that empowers us to want to do more versus looking at, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. But that's usually what human nature is looking at what we have not yet achieved.
Absolutely.
And it goes along with just what you said, that maybe taking time daily to congratulate yourself or to write down and be aware of the wonderful things that you have done so far.
I think you're exactly, honestly, we undermine, we are our own worst critics. Absolutely. We know where we fall short. We know the good things we do, but it's really easy to find those bad things that we do. Matter of fact, I was reading something just recently that was pretty fascinating to me, and it has to do with those little conversations we have going on inside of our heads. All right, we have this conversation of the good person that wants to make the right choice. And we have this other one that says, "Oh, it's too hard. It's just go with it. This is easier. This, and we kind of have this battle." But one of the things this book was saying was, what's interesting is, if you really think about it, there's actually 3 people there. When you're having those conversations in your head, you have the one guy saying one thing, you have the one other guy saying, the good and the bad, and then you have someone sitting there that's actually kind of listening to the whole conversation, going, "Who do I listen to?" There's 3 people there, and so it's kind of, and what happens is, and this really is pertinent to what we're trying to do. The more times we say yes, let's say we say for years we've made the bad choice. We've listened to that bad voice saying, you know what, it's easier just to go this route. Don't put forth the energy. Don't do it. We give in. But what happens is, as we start making those choices, we start changing, we start listening, we start doing more of the other, the right things to do. What happens is this one that we listened to for so long, those bad choices, sometimes it gets nasty. It gets mad. I mean, I'm telling you right now, and I'm sure every one of you have experienced it, you start getting healthier, and all of a sudden you just weird things come out of you, like, whoa, where did that come from? Like, it almost like it's fighting you, saying, don't kill me. I've been alive and strong for a long time, and now you're listening to the good voice. So it's interesting. Inside of us, we have those things going on, and again, by being aware of those, of what goes on in our head, man, and really, I think one of the best things you can do is, all you got to do is focus on the great things you're doing. If you make a mistake, hey, that's fine. That's going to be part of life. When you do get to your goal, there's still going to be all those things that tempted you before. They're going to be there, but now you're going to be able to, you'll be more empowered to be able to make those choices. Understand, credit yourself for the things you do right. Again, you get what you focus on. If you're focused on all the things you do wrong, man, that's not lifting you up. It's only going to kind of make you more discouraged to do what you're doing. Focus on the things you can do right, and you'll start moving where you need to go. So this is, as we start making goals, because essentially what we're doing here is understanding these choices and understanding this structure here. So this is where we are currently. These are all those secondary choices, and then this is that primary choice, that first goal that we're trying to get. And so as we look at that, it's like, how do we set goals? Essentially, that's what these are, is, these are daily goals. These are, monthly, weekly, yearly goals, whatever they might be. How do we set goals effectively? So to do that, we talk about basically setting SMART goals. Okay? The first thing is, be specific. Okay? And to explain that, it's one thing to say, I want to lose weight. Okay? It's another thing to say, I want to lose 50 pounds. You're being very specific. Okay, you're not being, and also it's like saying, comparative things. I want to feel better. What does that mean? It's all relative, right? It's like, instead of saying I want to feel better, it's I want to be able to run on a treadmill for a mile without being totally winded, or I want to be able to, whatever it is, have a specific thing in mind that you want to do, not just I want to feel better. I want my back to stop hurting. Or, it's just like they're a comparative thing. So basically, be specific. Say what you want to do. Don't compare it to I want to feel better than I did yesterday, because tomorrow, what does that mean? You won't even remember. So make it measurable. Again, so like I was saying, rather than saying I want to lose weight, it's I want to get to 150 pounds, or I want to get to 15 or 20% body fat. Whatever it is, make a specific goal that's measurable. Make it achievable. Okay, so and here's something with goals. We were talking about this today on the radio station when we were recording it. When we make goals, it's okay to not always reach a goal. In fact, if you're setting good goals for yourself, typically you're not always reaching your goals, but you're not always missing them either. Because goals are there to kind of stretch you, right? They're there to kind of make you reach a little bit further than you normally would. So it's okay if every now and again you miss a goal. But you shouldn't always miss a goal, because what happens if you always miss a goal? You get defeated. That voice, the bad voice in your head, starts getting louder. It makes you want to give up even more. So, make things that are achievable. Start. The gentleman I was talking to you about, and I've shared this before, who lost the 250 plus pounds, he didn't think about losing 250 pounds right off the get-go. All he did was 10 pounds at a time. He made achievable goals that he could do, month after month. He just said, I want my 10 pounds. And then he would move the chains, and he would 10 pounds and move the chains. And I think the last I heard it was 260 some odd pounds that he's lost. So, It's pretty huge. Matter of fact, this last summer, I talked with him recently. He actually had some congestive heart failure issues where he started retaining waters and things like that. Had he still been carrying all of his weight, I would pretty much guarantee you not be with us. But he's doing very well now. So those are the kind of things that make them achievable, make them realistic. Again, the 260 pounds, had he said, I want to lose 260 pounds by the end of the year, that's not achievable or realistic, really. So, make things realistic and then make them time-oriented. You want to give yourself, when you set, you want to give yourself a time frame when you're trying to fit it into. Again, some of these goals, when we talk about all of these things, you might, let's go back here. Where'd I go? There we go. So, you might want to give yourself some time ranges here as well as up here. So your long-term, in 3 months, I want to be down 40 pounds. Okay, and then you might put some timetables in here as well as, I want to make sure I'm eating every 2 to 3 hours. I want to make sure that I spend, I make it to the gym 3 times a week for, Be very specific. I want to walk so far each day in building up my endurance. So, anyways, and again, this here is just this is an example of Dr. Anderson in the book when we're talking about this structural tension. So we talk about current reality, where we are right now, and what our goals are. The whole idea is to stretch ourselves to where we're really moving towards where we want to be here. And as you look at this here, so Dr. Anderson says, my 1-year goal is I'm fit with great aerobic stamina, 14% body fat, lean muscle, plenty of flexibility and agility, and the ability at 55 to do all the things I could do at 25. Okay, that's a very you see how specific he was at what he wanted to do. Okay, so now down here he says I've just reached my healthy weight and I'm walking more. Okay, so he's just barely, so to be able to get to there, now he understands, what do I have to start doing? I have to start building some lean muscle. So his secondary choices are, I got to start doing some weight resistance training a couple times a week to start with, and then some light calisthenics, some little bit of weightlifting, stretching daily, walking 30 minutes, and then walk 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks. So he's kind of building things up. And basically that's kind of what we're talking about is, remember, celebrate your successes. Those little things that you're doing each day, each week, be happy about those things. If that scale doesn't move, but you've been true to the program and you've resisted some of those temptations, those are all successes. Just keep running with it. You keep making those choices and great things are going to happen. And then also what this does, by knowing what we want and why we want it, it allows us to use the stop, challenge, and choose much more effectively. Again, it's a lot easier to say no when you have that yes burning inside, that thing that you really want. So when something is presented, you can say, do I want to go out with the friends? Do I want to do these things? Or would I rather stick on the program? And honestly, think about that. Because what does it take? What does it take to get into the fat burning? 3 days, right? Is, a quick, sneak a little bit of cake or a little drink of soda, or is that worth taking another 2 to 3 days to get back into fat burning? Those are all good things to just kind of be thinking about in your head. Don't beat yourself up about it, but think about the thing. Is that really what I want? Do I really, if it is, and it really is that important to you right then, do it. Get back on the program the next day or right after and go with it. Move forward. Don't beat yourself up. But at least at this point, again, you are in charge. You are making the decisions, the choices, rather than being on autopilot. That's the one thing. When we're on autopilot, it's always easier to do the wrong thing. It's always easier to make the wrong choices when it comes to food, especially in our culture. You know, when you're hungry and you're driving down the street and there are fast food places all around you, it's really easy to make bad choices. So just keep in mind, this right here will really empower you to be in charge of your life as opposed to just letting things happen. You know, that, and again, when I read before, the making that choice is what makes it special. It really does. When you are in charge and all of a sudden you start seeing your goals realized, how great does that feel to know that you put your mind to it, you put the effort out there, and you started getting what you wanted. It's pretty fantastic. So, and again, right here, have you made your fundamental choice? Have you made that choice to be happy? So as you think about this, when you think about your fundamental choices, think about what you really do want to achieve. Think about those things that, and when you think about them, and I've talked about this before, many of you have heard this, but as you think about those goals and what you ultimately want, make them very real. And to do that, what you want to do is you want to imagine in your mind, find a nice quiet place when you go home. You know, take pictures. You know, people put pictures up on the wall of what they want to have or what they want to look like, or, you know, those are great. They're things that keep in your mind, but imagine how it's going to feel when you reach your goal. Imagine how it's going to smell. Imagine how it's going to taste. Imagine who you're going to be enjoying it with when you do reach your goal. Imagine the confidence you're going to. Imagine all those things. Make it very real to you. So when you do have those tough days, you just kind of go to that place in your mind and be like, I can do this. I want to do this. You know what I mean? Make those things that you want, you know, make them vivid to your, you know, one of the things I like to do when just to kind of explain this is, imagine, I just came from Phoenix, Arizona, and you can, driving through the town there, you can smell all the orange blossoms and the citrus blossoms. But imagine driving through a citrus orchard, and there's all these lemons on the trees, and you can just smell the lemon scent, and you're like, oh man, you know, I remember as a kid eating lemons right off the trees, and they were just fantastic. But imagine pulling over and you pick a lemon, you just smell it, it's just really fragrant, and then you take a pocket knife out and you kind of cut it in half, and you just squeeze this lemon into your mouth, and just how many of you are feeling your salivary glands just contract as we talk about? Though that's how real you want this to be. You know, in your mind, our minds are powerful, for the good and for the bad, unfortunately. But you know, as we think about those things that make a difference, man, imagine how it's going to taste. Get that visceral response when you think about what you want. Think about all the people who have been successful. You know, we could go through hundreds of thousands of great before and after pictures. You know, and there's some that are just so, you're just like, oh man, they look amazing. You know, they look so good, and their lives are completely different. You know, why not, you know, why them? Why not you? All it takes is that commitment. It's saying, you know what, there's no excuses. Or don't let our circumstances really determine who we are. Who we are is who we choose to be. And so, you know, think about that. Who do you choose? Who do you want to be? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? What do you want to be able to do? Think about those things. And again, I recommend when you go home tonight, find a quiet place. You know, sometimes that quiet place might be in your car, not at home. I used to do that when I was in college. I would go study in my car somewhere because I had young crying kids at home, and I could get my head wrapped around things. But go to a nice quiet place and think about those things that you really want. Who do you want to be? What do you want to, you know, like I said, what do you want to feel? What do you want to look like? Make that real to yourself. If you need pictures to remind you, do it. Have yourself a little, you know, your own little binder of things that you want to achieve and do, and start making them real. But again, it's become who you want to be, not what our circumstances dictate who we're going to be. So are there any questions with regard to making those choices? Any experiences, anything that anyone would like to share?
I just had a great day today because one of my friends who started the program on November 13th just today texted and said that he had lost 78 pounds, and for the first time in 20 years, he's below 200 pounds.
Wow.
So
First time in 20 years below 200?
Yeah.
That's pretty
It's just
fantastic.
So exciting.
That, you know what, in all seriousness, I mean, it is amazing to see people when they really do have these transformations. And I mean, it's honestly, it's like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. You know, people feel so much better, and it's like they have a whole new lease on life. So I think that's wonderful. So again, next week, join us. We're going to be, diving deeper into all of the fun habits that we want everyone to learn and adopt. And again, you know what? Just know that it takes time. Just stick around. It's that choice. You make the choice now. It's really, it makes it a whole lot easier. That fundamental choice is, matter of fact, I think Dr. Anderson explained, his example in his book is fantastic. He says, there's so many people that want to quit smoking, but they haven't made that fundamental choice to be a non-smoker. In their heads, they can stop for a while, and their willpower can keep them away from it. But in their heads, oh man, they still love smoking, and they still want it, and they haven't made that choice to be a non-smoker. If you think about it, people who don't smoke or don't drink or don't have drug problems, it's not hard for them. They just don't do it. That's not who they are. So it's about making that choice. Who am I? Who are you? And once you make the decision, it really does make it tons easier to be like, no, that's not who I am anymore. Even if it's who I was, that's not who I am anymore. And so just think about your own fundamental choice, and we look forward to seeing all of you and much less of you. So, all right? So, thank you.